Welcome into the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, going left to right. You've got joined by Chris Gow and Wade Neely. It's Monday. It's been Monday for a while, actually, but we are going to give you our thoughts on what has taken place over the weekend and what's coming up this week. And you've got the full boat. Again, all three of us, one place, something like that. One time, coming to you from the Lee Company studios, scattered across southern Middle Tennessee today. So, guys, how was y'all's weekend? I can tell you my weekend was better than my Monday, but anyway. Y'all's?
Well, I spent 5.5 hours watching a 3-hour movie as I partook in the.
What you do? Watch it as we sprung forward or something, or what?
No, I just took breaks in between.
Okay.
Had about an hour and a half, about 2 hours or so, and ate dinners. Oppenheimer, fantastic film, worthy of all of the awards it was gifted this weekend. But man, it's a lot.
Well, it's a long movie as it is, I guess, and you opted to make it even longer. So
you got your money's worth at least, I suppose.
There you go.
As one does.
There you go.
Other than that, pretty good weekend.
Wade, I know you were scheduled to kind of observe the Oscars last night. Did that actually come off for you?
Yeah, we enjoyed the Oscars, including John Cena. Had a surprise for everybody last night.
Could have been worse.
Yep. Luckily, I don't think we're bound by the FCC, so but I'll spare everybody some of the details. But yeah, we saw that. Oppenheimer obviously was fantastic, worthy of all the awards. And kind of like, I saw that in some theaters last summer. I did the Barbenheimer. We saw Barbie first and then rolled right into Oppenheimer. And somehow I still made it and survived the day. It was maybe, one of the longest days of my life. But the Oscars were pretty good last night. Kind of devoid of any real craziness like we'd seen the last couple of years. But all in all, a good night.
Well, we could certainly do without some of the craziness we've seen the last couple of years. Big show today. We have, of course, it's the Monday Mirror, so we will have our MON-STARS, our standout performers from the past weekend. Later in the show, we will be visiting in the second hour with VOLS 24/7's Ben McKEE, going to get us up to date on some UT stuff. There's plenty to talk about up on the hill. And later, I guess in our next segment, actually, we're going to visit with Ben Arthur of Fox Sports, because this is legal tampering day in the NFL. And I know legal tampering, it's I don't quite get how that phrase became a thing, but it is. But it's the first day of free agency, I guess. And a lot of free agency agreements are being agreed to. So we will talk about some of those and the significance thereof with Ben. Also, we can never go too long without discussing NIL, and there is an interesting development as it relates to men's basketball for the 24-25 season that we're going to get into. And the final segment of the day is a grab bag. A lot to talk about, a lot of minutia, I guess, that we want to kind of touch on. And so stick with us for that, including a big honor for a former area high school football coach. So again, that'll be in the grab bag later in the show. But for now, we probably should give you this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call, 931-388-5831, or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
All right, folks, let's dive right in. These are results that came to you from Saturday as we concluded play at the TSSAA Girls Basketball State Championship. In the 1A tilt, it was Pickett County, a 56-45 winner over Moore County. 2A fell in favor of Gibson County over Loretto. 49-37 was your score there. The 3A contest came down to the very, very final possession, and it was Dyersburg winning it 41-39. Great ball game there. Bradley Central does cruise, as a lot of us had talked about last week and predicted maybe even in the 4A showdown over Bartlett. 58-43 was your final score. Good week in the Glass House last week, bringing you the girls basketball state championships. On the baseball diamond last week, going all the way back to Friday, Father Ryan with an 11-4 win versus Centennial. Montgomery Central wins a one-run ball game 3-2 versus Clarksville Academy. Collierville wins it 16-6 versus Rossview. It was Columbia Academy all over Mount Juliet Christian, 11-1 your score there. Harpeth 5, East Nashville 3. Houston put up 12 runs, and Rossview just the one. So a 12-1 win for Houston over Rossview the other night on Friday last week. Columbia 8, Oakland 4. Good win for the Lions there. Clarksville 12, Siegel 4 to cap your Friday scores. On Saturday, more baseball as Rossview defeated Bartlett 4-2. Tipton Rosemark with a 10-5 win versus Rossview. And Columbia, another nice win for the Lions. They win at 5-4 versus Siegel. Some schools are on spring break. Some baseball programs are playing games early. And Lawrence County knocked off Ada, Oklahoma. Hope I got that right. 8-1 your count there. Davidson Academy over Brookwood, Alabama. 8-4 is a final. And earlier today as well, it was Hardin Valley 5 and Summertown 0.
Softball this weekend. On Friday, it was Eagleville with a 5-0 win over Blackman. Also, Stewart's Creek defeated Riverdale 7-1. On Saturday, Stewart's Creek defeated Blackman 1-0. Warren County with a 7-3 win over Riverdale. And on Sunday, it was Eagleville 2, Joe Burns 0. Men's basketball action from the weekend. On Friday, Belmont's season came to an end in Arch Madness, falling in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament to Northern Iowa 67-62. Saturday down at Ruston, Nick McDevitt warned us that it was going to be a tough one for the Blue Raiders down there, and sure enough it was. Louisiana Tech wins 84-70. Up in Knoxville, the SEC regular season finale for both Kentucky and Tennessee. Tennessee drops a 4-point decision to Kentucky, 85-81, despite a 40-point effort from Dalton Knecht. And Vanderbilt surging into this week's SEC tournament down at Bridgestone with a 79-78 win over Florida. On Sunday, in the ASUN championship game, it was Stetson 94, Austin P 91. Women's basketball. Tennessee wins its quarterfinal matchup on Friday in decisive fashion, 83-61 against Alabama. Austin P with a 73-60 win over Kennesaw State in the ASUN tournament. On Saturday, MTSU's women wrap up a perfect run through Conference USA with a 79-58 victory over Louisiana Tech, and we're done before noon. South Carolina survives its semifinal matchup with Tennessee, 74-73. We'll be talking more about that later in the show. Belmont with a 72-69 win over Illinois State. It was Eastern Kentucky 99, Lipscomb 68, and Austin P 45. Austin P 49, Stetson 45.
On the ice, the Preds continue to pile up points. 2-1 win over the Blue Jackets on Saturday, and then on Sunday, falling in overtime to the Minnesota Wild, and a fantastic overtime period. We'll have to mention how it happened a little bit later. 4-3 the final there. Preds still get the point, though. In the association, Grizzlies fall to the Hawks 99-92 and then get drilled by the Thunder 124-93 on Sunday. On the pitch, seems to be a popular score for Nashville SC, deuce to deuce against the LA Galaxy. Another tie, a draw, if you will. Today, baseball action. Brentwood Academy is at Father Ryan at 4 o'clock, as is the Columbia Academy at Webster at 4:30. Columbia Central welcomes Dixon County, and Good Pastures at home against Clarksville Christian. Joe Burns is at Liberty Creek at 5:30 today. It's Lawson hosting Hunters Lane, and at 6 o'clock you can catch Clarksville against Clarksville Academy. Wayne County is at Culleoka. Zion Christian goes to Franklin Road Christian. Gallatin at home against Greenbrier. Mount Pleasant is down at Hampshire, and Watertown is at Jackson County.
At 6:30, Spring Hill is at East Hickman. Also, Sycamore is at East Robertson. White House goes to Harpeth. Loretto hosts the Middle Tennessee Monarchs, and Coffee County travels to Oakland. Also at 6:30, Middle Tennessee Christian is at Providence Christian, and Cascade goes to Richland. At 7, Mount Juliet is at Riverdale. Upperman goes to Smyrna. Blackman hosts Creekwood. Madison Academy of Alabama and Friendship Christian are playing. Also, Lipscomb Academy is playing Gulf Shores of Alabama. And times unknown, Centennial is at Summit, and Murfreesboro Central is at Shelbyville.
Other scores in baseball action. Some of these, most of these got already underway, but we don't have a score just yet. Hillcrest, Alabama versus
This is
Friendship
tomorrow.
Christian.
These are tomorrow.
Excuse me. Tomorrow before our show. Thank you, boys. Hillcrest, Alabama versus Friendship Christian. That game is set for 9, as is a 9 o'clock first pitch, Lipscomb Academy in Lauderdale County, Alabama.
Almost all of these are in the Gulf Shores, right?
I would think.
Presumably. I'd like to be this time of the year. If I'm looking at all
Exactly.
squad. So scores continuing, or schedule continuing. Davidson Academy versus CPA. Summertown versus Tuscaloosa County. Both of those games were set for 11 tomorrow morning. At 11:30, you have Hardin Valley versus Friendship Christian. Also Walker Valley versus Green Hill. At noon, you have a Independence Showdown versus Page. Always going to be a fun one. And they'll get it on again at high noon tomorrow. At 1 o'clock tomorrow, Ravenwood is at Brentwood. Lebanon versus Evangelical Christian, and Wilson Central versus Jackson Southside. Those last two are set for 2 p.m. To the softball diamond we go. Lenore City versus Summertown is set for 4 o'clock. McGavick is set to travel to Pope John Paul II at 4:30. Lipscomb Academy versus Grace Christian Knoxville at 4 p.m. Hickman County is at Columbia tonight. These next few are at 5 o'clock. Hickman County at Columbia, as I mentioned, Fayetteville at Culleoka, and also at 5 will be Wilson Central at Gallatin.
Also at 5, Riverdale goes to Gordonsville. At 5:30, Page hosts Marshall County. At 6:30, Stewart's Creek goes across town taking on Siegel. 6 o'clock for Santa Fe at Frank Hughes. Also, Zion Christian is at Franklin Road Christian at 6. Laverne is at Murfreesboro Central. Eagleville travels to Oakland. Richland hosts Mount Pleasant. Austin of Alabama plays Summertown. I believe that one's down at Gulf Shores. Also, Cleveland plays Summit. I know that one's at Gulf Shores because Jenny Stevenson texted me from there yesterday. And at 6:30, Smyrna is at Mount Juliet. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, first pitch for Pine Grove, Mississippi, and Summertown, followed by a 12 noon matchup between Summertown and East Harding. And at 2 o'clock, Bel Air of Texas faces Summit down on the beach. Boys soccer action, 6 o'clock, first touch for Agathos Classical at Columbia Academy. At 7, Hickman County is at Rockvale. Also at 7, White House hosts Ross View. And Coffee County goes to Middle Tennessee Christian. We are not sure of the time. Check your local listings.
Before we get out of here, I do want to mention that Trevecca in GMAC play women defeated Malone University 77-69 on Friday, fell to Ashland in the championship game 99-58, but did make the NCAA regional tournament. So that is your rundown.
Top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly of Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and stop through there for their delicious daily deli lunch options. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the register. So again, Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, sponsors of your top story. And as we mentioned, South Carolina is your SEC women's basketball tournament champion, but it did not come without some eventful occurrences both on Saturday and Sunday. So on Saturday, literally, South Carolina was 1.1 seconds from dropping their first game of the year. And then Camila Cardozo makes an uncontested catch and makes an uncontested three to give the Gamecocks a 74-73 victory. But that ain't all. Because yesterday in the championship game against LSU late in the fourth quarter, there was a little bit of a skirmish between the Gamecocks and the Tigers, and some folks got sent to their room without dinner or without, in South Carolina's case, an opportunity to celebrate that eventual championship over LSU because they couldn't come back out on the floor once they had been ejected. So, unfortunate, but stuff happens. Ideally, we would see South Carolina and LSU one more time this year, I think. I don't know how the NCAA selection committee will necessarily work that, but I think they need to play once more. Anyway, Saturday was really tough, particularly if you're a UT fan. I mean, I don't know that you expected to win that game going into it, but when you get to 39 minutes and 58.9 seconds and you've got a lead, you feel like you've got a pretty good chance to be playing on Sunday, and then things happen. Tough breakdown, or just a tough happening, depending on who you ask, I guess. Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, get into Saturday before we get into Sunday. And we were all three texting back and forth about it. I mean, just a crazy situation. You're thinking, holy smokes, is UT about to for real do this thing? And wow, I mean, just kind of an unfortunate ending. If you're a Lady Vols fan, and obviously kind of a true blessing if you're South Carolina, you get exactly what you want. I mean, you get an uncontested catch, an uncontested three, and you punch your ticket to Sunday's championship game. And then as for Sunday, obviously really kind of unfortunate in the sense that, the casual women's basketball fans are really just now dialing this in for the first time. And this is probably the first action, maybe outside of a stray Caitlin Clark game highlights that they've seen all season. This is kind of your first dose of the women's game for a lot of casuals this year. And unfortunately, this is kind of what they're left with. And instead of talking about, South Carolina and their dominance, we're kind of scratching our heads saying what happens now and just kind of how do we get to this situation? Because it was indeed kind of yucky yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday is exactly what Dawn Staley said. It wasn't great for the game of basketball. She apologized to the game of basketball for the way that her team reacted in that situation. I think I certainly think that there were some instigations against her team, and then sometimes when you're the number one team in the country, you're going to find yourself in a place where teams are going to do just about anything they can to try and get an edge or the upper hand, and that's what LSU kind of does. And they were able to do it yesterday to a degree, and but South Carolina handled it not perfectly, but they handled the basketball game, won the basketball game, and it's a tough situation. It is what it is, and I think that the NCAA tournament is going to be an interesting part as well. Obviously, they're not going to be nearly as down as originally reported, although that would be fun. But they do still have some. They'll have some players who will not be involved, and that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Now, when you go back to Saturday, and look, I know what Kelly Harper said after the game. I'm surprised she said it, but typically in that situation, you kind of take that as the coach, and you take that publicly, whether or not you said it in the huddle or not. But
bring me up to speed, because I will tell you I did not see Kelly's post game.
Essentially, she said that it was not defended the way that we
wanted to defend it. Okay.
Now that being said, I mean, it was the girl's first ever 3-point attempt. So I guess technically you don't know if she can shoot it or not because she's never done it. But so maybe you just pretend that she can. But obviously you can't risk a foul there because you can't send her to the line for 3 free throws. And so I guess that was the thought process for Tennessee's defense. Guarding the inbound player, perfectly good decision. The play was likely designed to actually go back to the inbound player. And so you have to have somebody between where she threw it and the inbound player because that's the girl who can shoot. But, yeah, it's just a tough way to lose. I mean, simply, sometimes, what do they say? Luck is opportunity and preparation. I mean, South Carolina is certainly prepared, and they had an opportunity to win the game. And
well, I mean, again, though, when you go back to the fact that was Camila Cardoso's first 3-pointer, I'm not sure exactly how prepared they were.
Well, I mean, sure, but it's South Carolina. Sometimes the breaks are going to go to the team that's the best team in the country. It just is.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, you have to hit them as hard as they battled back. It's still not enough. You have to absolutely knock them out one final time. And it's kind of like a scary movie. Once you think you've gotten rid of the villain, they make a comeback. And until
you
you
drive
flatten
a
them,
stake through their heart.
until you flatten them completely,
them.
they're not dead. And that's what happened on Saturday.
You'd outscored them 25-11 to that point, but obviously you can't, missing free throws, even if you've scored 25 points. I know that, you can go back to any point in the game. Well, if I make this or I make that, that's, hitting your free throws in the last minute of the game, probably the most important time to make a free throw. So it's just unfortunate. And I don't know if it's going to cost Kelly Harper her job or not. I think there's some difficult conversations that will have to be had between she and Danny White. Now, whether that ends in her not having a job at the University of Tennessee or not is, I don't know. But, she did go to the Sweet 16 last year. I guess the tournament will decide because they are playing really good basketball right now, probably the best basketball of their season right now. But also Sweet 16 is kind of that's the minimum. Right? At Tennessee, it's expected to be in the Sweet 16. So I don't know. I think we'll just have to see how this plays out. And it's unfortunate because I do think Kelly's a good coach, but of course, when Dawn Staley also says she's a good coach, that may be that may be the biggest red flag of them all. Please keep her. She's great.
Yeah, but I mean, you've seen coaches say that before in those situations, and that is what they meant. But the fact of the matter is, I believe South Carolina's
This is not Rick Pitino.
No, this is not Rick Pitino and Wade Houston. I believe South Carolina's 2 closest losses of the wins of the season have both been against Tennessee.
Correct.
So take that for what you will. But yeah, covered Kelly in high school, covered her at UT, would certainly hate to see this end up this way for her if it does, in fact, end that way. But, yeah, I think there are some hard conversations that are going to have to take place, once this season gets over with. Right now, the bigger concern is, I mean, if Tennessee is like an 8 or a 9 in the NCAAs and they catch a number 1 in that opening weekend, then
on their home court.
On their home court, yeah. So
that's tough. Yeah, you got to hope they're a 7. You got to hope you're a 7. That's what I
think you really got to hope that you're or a 10.
Or a 7-10, yeah, a 7 or a 10. You'll take that. The number 2 seed is probably not much better on their home court, but it's better than catching, Iowa
or shoot. Maybe even 11 where you catch a 3. I mean, everybody looks at seeding as they want the highest seed possible. And sometimes instead of the highest seed, maybe you want the best seed.
There you go.
You're trying to advance. Once you get in the bracket, the number next to your name really doesn't matter.
Right.
And I feel like Tennessee is going to be in the bracket. I had a couple conversations over the weekend. Are they going to get in? Yeah, they're going to get in. But what happens once they do is up for debate.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to take us to our first break here on the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by Ben Arthur of Fox Sports, who I'm sure has been a busy guy here on Legal Tampering Day in the NFL. So stay with us here in the Lee Company studios when we come back and talk a little NFL. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
It's the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, flanked by Chris Yao and Wade Neely, and we are now joined by Ben Arthur of Fox Sports, talking a little NFL here on Legal Tampering Day. And Ben, can they not find a better term for that? You're muted, Ben.
Oh, can you guys hear me now?
We can now. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Legal tampering that's not a good word, because we all know all these deals are kind of hashed out and whatnot at the combine. That's when a lot of these conversations take place. Like, some of these deals are coming in like 6 minutes after the tampering window opened, and it's like, okay, like I'm not buying it. That it just came together in 5 minutes. So, but yeah, maybe just like negotiation period or something, right? Like I don't know why they have to have the legal word attached to it. So interesting.
It's just funny. It's almost intelligence insulting. But anyway, yeah, Ben, when the idea of having you on today first formulated amongst the three of us, it was in the aftermath of an interesting trade that was announced yesterday. Obviously, it won't be official until Wednesday, but the Patriots are sending Mac Jones to the Jaguars. And from my way of thinking, and I'll let Wade and Chris jump in whenever they want to, but, I understand the trade from the Patriots standpoint. I understand the trade from Mac Jones' standpoint. I'm not sure I necessarily understand it from the Jaguars standpoint. Why do they want Mac Jones?
Yeah, I think from the Jags perspective, I mean, Mac Jones gives them a backup with higher upside. Their backup, CJ Beathard, had injury issues last season. Trevor Lawrence, as we know, last season he had injury issues as well. I think he certainly raises the ceiling, or the floor for them at that position in the case that Trevor can't play. And then we have to remember too that the Jaguars received a couple of compensatory picks for their free agents lost from last year. One of those picks being in the 6th round. So they gave New England a 6th rounder. So it's almost like, they had an extra pick to spare in the late round. So the people making a big deal out of that, I'm not sure it really matters as much, because they did get that extra pick in the 6th round. And yeah, so I think that's kind of the thought process from the Jags perspective. And yeah, I mean, that he's not like a long-term guy for them. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is someone they're committed to. We know he had a down year, and that was for a myriad of reasons. But I think in terms of bolstering the backup position, kind of a spot that we really learned last year is tremendously valuable, right? With all the backup quarterbacks having to play, having to win games for all these playoff contending teams. It's a really important, that QB2 spot is become increasingly important in the NFL. So I think all of that contributes to why we saw Jacksonville do what they did.
Shifting gears, another move that was announced yesterday that I guess again will be official on Wednesday. Kevin Byard heading to Chicago. I don't think there was ever any possibility of him coming back to Tennessee, but that's pretty well been addressed. What do you like about Byard in Chicago from what you know about the Bears? And, how close were the Titans and he to getting anything done, if at all?
I don't believe that there was ever really any chance for KB to come back to Nashville. I mean, that chapter has kind of been done. I mean, for KB, it's just another opportunity. I think with Chicago, we've seen them build up their defense a little bit. Like they just re-signed, Jalen Johnson to that big cornerback deal. They traded for, Montez Sweat at the trade deadline last year. They've been building up that defense, and then also the run game with getting DeAndre Swift as well. So whoever that quarterback is going to be for them in 2024, I think they've created a situation to where that quarterback can have success. And so, but I think more specifically for KB, I mean, they've been building up that defense, and I think the Bears, as many issues as the Bears have had, their secondary is pretty good. That defense is in a really good spot, and KB is just another veteran voice, adds obviously a tremendous amount of experience. And of course, he's maybe not the player he used to be 2-3 years ago at the peak of his powers, all pro caliber talent at safety, but I think he's still a good player that was maybe not in a great situation in Philly. And so I think he's going to give them kind of what they need in Chicago.
Ben, as we kind of jump into the AFC South, the team obviously that everybody's technically chasing is the Houston Texans. This is a competitive division, it seems like, on paper yet again. But I guess my question is Houston, how much are they, quote unquote, really going to go for this? Obviously, after having won the division last year, are they really going to try and they've already made several key re-signings? And I guess my question is, how much of a splash per se are they going to try and make in this free agent market, or are they going to really try and maybe focus more on the draft for a team that's already pretty good, as we saw last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a team that needs to be aggressive. Like, we look at kind of what the situation that Jacksonville was in last year, and they kind of stood pat a bit, right? And we saw how that kind of blew up in their face. And I think from the Texans' perspective, like, you have to look at that to inform your moves. I mean, obviously a different team and whatnot, but I don't think just because, like, the Texans are on the rise, CJ Stroud looks like your franchise quarterback, all that you can just kind of not do much, just depend on the guys you have returning and the draft to continue to build. I think you need to be really aggressive, and I expect them to be that. They have a lot of cap space. We haven't seen them make any big moves in free agency to this point. They've lost two of their best defensive players from last year in Jonathan Grenard and Blake Cashman, both to the Vikings. But I do expect them to be aggressive at wide receiver. And then from conversations I've had, I think that the D-line, particularly like D tackle, and of course, like D'Amico Ryans' background, I think those are kind of spots we should look for the Texans to be pretty aggressive. So I'm not quite sure right now what that's going to look like. But yeah, they need to be aggressive. They have the cap space to do so. And they have more free agents than anyone else in the league, like 30 plus. So they're going to have to make some moves here.
We've kind of talked Texans, kind of talked a little Jags, and as a Titans guy, I kind of shudder to ask this, but where do the Colts kind of fit into this equation in terms of free agency here?
Yeah, the Colts are in an interesting spot. I mean, I think they're a team that doesn't maybe necessarily need on defense, they need like a cornerback, they need a safety, they need a lot of depth. On offense, I don't think they need as many starters. They probably need like a number 3 wide receiver. But I think defense is where we could really see them be active in free agency. And I think Chris Ballard historically in free agency has been most active on the defensive side of the ball in free agency. So I think the cornerback market, I think L'Jarius Sneed, who is franchise tagged by the Chiefs, I think Indy could maybe potentially pursue him. I think the D line, that's a spot where they need depth. Safety is a spot that they really need to upgrade. I mean, Julian Blackmon, who's their top safety, he's a free agent. He might not return. So I think really the Colts' most glaring weakness last season was in the secondary. And a part of that was youth, right? So I think for them, like, they really need to add those veterans to the defensive side of the ball and maybe focus more so on the offensive side of the ball in the draft. That's kind of, to me, what makes the most sense from their perspective.
Talking
Speaking
NFL.
with Ben Arthur, Fox Sports covers the AFC. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. Yeah, go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it's Ben Arthur, Fox Sports here, and now that we've gotten everything else out of the way, I guess we've pretty much officially seen the last run for King Henry here in Nashville as Tony Pollard signs a 3-year, $24 million deal with the Titans. Is that surprising? Is that a name that you had been expecting to maybe hear for Tennessee?
No, I mean, Tony Pollard wasn't necessarily the name I expected. I expected them to to supplement Tajay Spears, right, and maybe go for that second, third tier type running back. I mean, Pollard is probably more so in that second tier. But I think about like the kind of offense that Brian Callahan wants to have, right? Pass centric, pass first. And then you think of like a backfield with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. That's a backfield that never really tips off the hand like to the defense, right? Because with those guys, you don't know if it's going to be run or pass. With Derrick Henry in the game, more likely than not, it's going to be run. And so I think with Pollard and then Spears, I mean, those two guys really fit, I think, the kind of identity that Brian Callahan wants this Titans offense to have. So although I didn't think it would be a Tony Pollard, I think it makes a lot of sense because of how like the Bengals offense has been shaped with when Callahan was the OC in Cincy. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I think we should look at the reported numbers of Tony Pollard's contract with caution, just because we don't know the actual numbers yet, and we don't know the cash flow. And so I know a lot of people have said, like, well, why are we giving Pollard $8 million a year when we could have probably just had Derek for $9 or $10 million? Like, I think we need to look at it. It's going to take some time before we actually know like what the Titans are actually signing Tony Pollard to. And I think for me, that goes a long way to determining like, was this actually a good deal or not? But I think on paper, and again, knowing the kind of offense that Brian Callahan wants to have, I think it does make a lot of sense.
Also, it seems,
and knowing the type of offense that he is going to run, it did make a lot of sense for them to keep the center they had, considering his deficiencies in the passing game. That's why they went and got Lloyd Cushenberry.
I'm sorry. What were you asking? You're asking about Lloyd Cushenberry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Yeah. I mean, clearly an upgrade, right? I mean, that's a spot that the Titans have needed to upgrade. I mean, I wouldn't rule out Aaron Brewer maybe coming back as like a backup, but him being your starter, that should have never been like in the long-term vision for Tennessee. And so, I mean, you look at some of I haven't really been able to look at a lot of the numbers closely, but you look at kind of like the pressures allowed and whatnot. I mean, Lloyd Cushenberry ranks really high in that regard. And so third. Yeah. So that's obviously a huge plus. And then we obviously with Bill Callahan, the O-line guru that he is, you have better talent, you have a better O-line coach. I think both of those factors give you reason for optimism. This Titans O-line still needs to kind of shake out, but I think for Will Levis's sake, this is really good news. And I think we all saw kind of those bad snaps last year, whether they were too high or too low or whatever. I think Lloyd Cushenberry really solidifies that spot for them. So I think that's a really good move.
According to analytics guy Warren Sharp, Cushenberry was third among all centers in pass pro. Brewer was 27th.
Yeah.
But Brewer was great on the run, but we're not running the ball anymore.
Apparently. Not a lot anyway. So yeah. So where do you feel like the Titans go next, Ben?
They need to be. I think they need to be aggressive at cornerback. Like Sean Murphy Bunting is gone. Christian Fulton is probably gone. Like they need corners, right? We've talked so much about them needing O-line and wide receiver help, which I think we'll see a lot of that in the draft. But I think defensively in free agency, they really need to be aggressive at corner. Whether that's a guy like Kendall Fuller or whoever it is. I think we'll hear some news soon about that. So yeah, cornerback is a spot I'm eyeing. They do need some depth, honestly, on the D line, and Danico Autry is going to be 34 next season. I think there's a chance that he's brought back. I mean, he's just still been so productive and reliable, but they do need to get a little bit younger. So I could see them making a significant defensive move here. So
finally, Ben, before we let you go, because I know you're monitoring a lot of stuff, obviously. As you look forward to the first day of the draft, the Titans are at number 7, I guess. Do you think they stay put there? And if so, where do they go? Do they move up or back? What are your thoughts as we sit here about a month out?
Yeah, I think as of now, I think they probably stay put. I think you need to, like, if you could get like a guy like Joe Alt, like get your franchise left tackle, that would be probably best case scenario. I know based on kind of the comments from Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon, that made everyone think, oh, they're going to pick wide receiver. I didn't necessarily read it as that way. I think we can all overanalyze what people say this time of the year, but they need to protect Will Levis. They need to give him a chance to get through his reads, to stay upright, not get his hurt as he did last year, and even the small sample size that he played. But I think they'll stay put. I think left tackle is the move for them. And this is a deep wide receiver draft. And so whether that means using their second round pick on a wide receiver or getting multiple receivers by the time the draft is over, we could probably see that. But I think with that top pick, you need to solidify that spot, because the last couple years since Taylor Lewan was that cap casualty, that has been a spot that's gotten kind of out of control. So they need to figure that out.
It's not sexy, but it is necessary. Ben Arthur of Fox Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Ben, we appreciate it. Like I said, I know you got a lot going on with it being the first day of free agency movement, so we're going to let you go, but we appreciate your time and look forward to getting you on again soon.
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, man. When we come back here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, it's MON-STARS, our top performers from the weekend. Should be fun. Stay tuned.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA. With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Monday Mirror MON-STARS here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as Chris Wade and I give you our top performers from the weekend. Guys, shoot your shot.
All right, I'll dive right in. And we were all three in Murfreesboro last week. And, you know, we were consumed by basketball, but isn't it weird that you kind of lose track of what's going on the court sometimes? And I got to give a shout out to the Gibson County starting five, the 2A state champs. And it didn't dawn on me until I was watching the game on Saturday as they knocked off Loretto. The starting five for Gibson County played all but 10 minutes in all three games. In 3 games, 3 of the 5 played all 32 minutes in every game. And then in game 2, there were 2 young ladies that were out for 10 minutes combined between the 2 of them. So 6 total players used. I know it's more of an individual effort, but I got to go a collective effort because that's just crazy to me. You got a starting 5 that basically played the entire state tournament, and you win the gold ball.
That's pretty solid. That's a good catch on your part. Pretty good stuff there, Chris.
Well, Mo, go first, please.
Okay. You asked
what you wish for. Yep.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Chris and I have been together long enough that we kind of, there's a little simpatico here, but I'm going to go about 3 hours east of here. Former Middle Tennessee State infielder Laura Mealer on Friday night had a night for the ages. Went 4 for 6 in a pair of games. She went 3 for 3 with 3 home runs, drove in 5 in Tennessee's 16-0 win over Missouri State. And she kept the party going in game 2, going 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer in the Lady VOLS 6-0 win over South Dakota. So for the night, 4-6, 4 home runs, 7 ribs, gives her 5 home runs on the year, which ranks 4th on the Lady VOLS roster. So nice night for the former Forest Lady Rocket and former MTSU Lady Raider.
It's just crazy because, of course, you know, we had the conversation about her, and then right after that, to the moon.
Yeah. Boom. Yep.
Whatever. Well,
was that where you were going?
No, but
good.
See,
I'm glad.
Well, your typical way of doing this would have indicated to me that Loretto's Allie Weathers would have been.
Well, see, that's the thing. I was afraid if I went Allie Weathers, you were going to go Laura Mealer, and so yeah. I'm still scrambling though because yes, go right ahead. Allie Weathers, Friday night specifically.
63 total points in the tournament, 29 boards, 11 assists, played 100 minutes, shot 50% from the floor, and was just an absolute mad woman, like you said, particularly on Friday night. So well done to Loretto standout, making a name for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Specifically on Friday night in that 55-52 overtime win over Gatlinburg Pittman in the semifinals, 33 points, 16 boards.
Heck of a night.
Not a bad night at the office here for Allie. Go ahead, Wade, while I come up with a third one.
Heck of a night, heck of a tournament, and I'll give you a little time to cover there. And don't throw fruit or groan, Predators fans, but I mean, how could you not give a tip of the cap or the MON-STAR potential effort to head coach John Hines as the Wild win in overtime yesterday, pulling the goalie in overtime. But I was not even aware of this until this morning, and we may get into this a little bit later. But an obscure NHL rule, if the Preds had actually scored on the empty net in overtime, the Wild actually would have forfeited the point that they got for being tied at the end of regulation. Ooh. So you want to talk about a real Billy Big Balls moment. I mean, Dan Campbell was even applauding the decision there from John Hines, because if you give up the goal, you give up the point. But I love some of the post-game quotes, and it says, hey, we were here to win, right? I mean, that is absolutely landed on the line. So I got to give him a tip of the cap.
Pushing all your chips in the middle of the table right there, no doubt. I did not realize
that. They kind of had to.
Idea.
They kind of had to because, again, getting a point while giving up 2 in a wild card race that you're down 10 in doesn't help you.
And to me, that's so refreshing when you see coaches realize the situation. How easy could it have been to just pack it in a little bit and say, well, we got what we came here to get. No, you want if you're making a real run at it, you might as well go for it.
Well, apparently that's what John Hines said. So yeah, wow, that was
like I said, move. I hate that it comes against the Preds' expense, obviously, but yeah, what a move, Mo.
It was a huge. I mean, and like I said, I didn't realize the point forfeiting situation there, but that makes it even huger, if that's a word. Yeah,
the hugest move.
Yeah. I'll go ahead.
All right, well, I'm going to go a little bit farther than 3 hours east, but he used to play there. Again, going back to the well, Drew Pember. You can't listen, man. He's my MON-STAR of the year to this point. 30 points, 13 boards, 10 assists for the triple-double to elevate UNC Asheville to the Big South Championship Finals over Gardner Webb 83-72. Man, this kid has just been unreal all season. You can't say enough about him.
Oh, I'm going to stay on the diamond, but I'm going to go to the bigger diamond. Vanderbilt's Devin Futrell yesterday wrapped up a sweep for the Commodores, going 9 shutout, allowing 5 hits, striking out 7, no walks, 113 pitches, 4 2/3 innings of no-hit ball in Vanderbilt's 4-0 win over Illinois State to complete the sweep this weekend out at Hawkins Field. And apparently the Southeastern Conference is in agreement with me because Devin was named the SEC Pitcher of the Week this week for that performance. So there we go.
Final MON-STAR for me. I'll stay a little more local. It's regional in the grand scheme of things. And I'm going to go to the mat. It may not be the mat that you guys are thinking at first. I'm going to the cheerleading mat.
Uh-oh. Because
the UT Southern Firehawks won the Southern States Athletic Conference Cheer Championship this weekend. I don't know how much this is, and I covered the sport for a number of years. That tells you how much I guess I was paying attention. They won by 0.2 points. Seems close enough, I guess. But they edged out Florida Memorial, so they're the conference champs. And I got to give a shout-out. They're coached by Columbia Central grad Key Matthews. And you go through their roster. Mount Pleasant featured on the roster. Spring Hill featured on the roster. Giles County and Cornersville featured on the roster. Forest High School, Marshall County. This is a local team coached by a local coach, and they won their conference championship. They'll get to go to the NAIA National Championship. So had to dig and had to go to the mat, like I said, but props to the UTS cheerleading program getting their conference. They find out who their national tournament foes, competition, find out who they'll be facing off against at the national tournament later this week.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, I guess we will go to – I was going to try to go into baseball myself, but I've decided against it. We'll just go with probably the most impressive performance of the weekend in women's basketball, in my opinion, was from USC freshman phenom. Man, I'm telling you, when you think about all of, the Pac-12 women's basketball and all the things that go into that, you just go, you just have to be impressed with what Juju's been able to do as a freshman this year, and she just continues to do it. Did it all weekend long. So yesterday was yet another fantastic performance with 30 points, I think. So I think it was 30. Either way, big win for USC over Stanford. And
I tell you something that kind of went a little unnoticed in that USC-Stanford game. USC wins that Pac-10 championship, Pac-12 championship, Pac-X championship in their final year before they go to the Big Ten. Meanwhile, Stanford headed to the ACC. So, a little bittersweet. They did a little montage on some of the great moments of that conference's women's basketball history at the end of that game yesterday afternoon. It was pretty impressive. But, USC wins it. The final Pac something championship. So congratulations to them. I'm going to go high schools. I tell you, I was really impressed with Bradley Central all weekend and their MVP, Harmony Ware.
How could you not?
14 of 14 from the line in the win against Bartlett, setting a state record for most consecutive free throws made in the state tournament. She hit all 22 of her attempts. Ice water in her veins, Harmony Ware. And the Lady Bears have now won the last 2 Class 4A titles, and I would not bet against them in 25. So there's that. Before we get out, we probably, and I know we are a little past the top of the hour, but the SEC, in advance of their men's basketball tournament at Bridgestone later this week, has announced their awards. Chris, guess who the SEC Coach of the Year was?
I bet it wasn't Nate Oates.
I bet you're right.
It was Lamont Paris.
It was Lamont Paris. You know why? Because somebody told us it would be Lamont Paris. Who was it that we talked to? I cannot remember at this point. But yeah, exactly. Dalton Connect is your SEC Player of the Year. Reed Shepard, freshman. Rob Dillingham of Kentucky is your 6th man and Defensive Player of the Year. Zakai Ziegler of Tennessee. Mark Sears, Janai Broom, Florida's Zion Pullen, Kentucky's Antonio Reeves, Mississippi State's Tolu Smith, and Wade Taylor, the 4th of Texas A&M, joining Connect and Ziegler on the first team All SEC. Jonas Adu, 2nd team, and All Defensive team.
I won't be here tomorrow to gripe about it,
but
so I'm going to go ahead and gripe about it today.
Go ahead.
First off, congratulations to Middle Tennessee State Savannah Wheeler for becoming the third Lady Raider to be Player of the Year in Conference USA, joining Anastasia Hayes and Ebony Rowe.
But
congratulations to her. And also congratulations to Anastasia Boldareva, who was Defensive Player of the Year for the undefeated in conference play Middle Tennessee Lady Raiders. In each of the previous undefeated seasons for anyone in Conference USA, the coach of the undefeated team was the coach of the year. I'll give you one guess as to who was the first coach not named coach of the year after going undefeated in conference play.
Middle Tennessee State's Rick Insel.
That'd be correct. Let's just say, look, congratulations to Jessica Burks-Wiley. I'm sure she's a fantastic coach at Florida International, and I'm sure they did a great job and whatnot, but they didn't go undefeated. Rick Insel did, and the fact that he is not a unanimous decision for the Conference USA Women's Basketball Coach of the Year is an absolute shame for every single coach in Conference USA who didn't vote for him. That is trash can juice.
That is trash can juice, and I'm glad you brought that forth. I'm sure we will talk about it more tomorrow when we do have the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, on with us. But yeah, it's good of you to get out ahead of that. I appreciate it.
I don't think he did it on purpose, but he even handed out biscuits on Saturday. I mean, before the ball game in the finale of the regular season. I mean, come on, man.
What doesn't he do?
Yeah, who else is doing that?
Go figure. Let's take a break. Let's come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, and let's talk about a tournament that is being talked about for next basketball season and how it might impact some college players' pockets. Stay with us after the break.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
The second hour of the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We are in the Lee Company studios, plural, scattered across southern Middle Tennessee. Maurice Patton, Chris Yao, Wade Neely, and we have an interesting topic to broach here in this segment, as there has been proposed an 8-team in-season college basketball tournament that would net each of the 8 participating teams $1 million in NIL, and the winning team would get another $1 million. Now, the tweet that we sent out with this: is this viable or even within the rules? Are there still rules? We discuss. And I think that second question is kind of where we are.
I would agree.
Are there still rules?
Well, no, and apparently, according to friend of the show, Matt Brown, this is not the first basketball tournament to pay out NIL money. The CBI did it last year, or at least pledged to do it. I don't know if they did.
Well, I certainly hope they did if they pledged to.
Paid $25,000 to the winner, $10,000 to the runner-up, and $25,000 to all the other 2 semifinalists to be divvied up. And so I think this is interesting. I guess if it goes through the collective, it's okay.
I guess. So this article is on frontofficesports.com. It dropped late Friday night by Amanda Kristovich. 8-team event expanding to 16 in 2025. Coaches, collectives, and NIL operators will distribute the earnings to current players. So, the tournament dubbed Players Era. And apparently this is done. I mean, it's set for MGM Arena in Vegas. Will be operated by Ever Wonder Studio and One CEO of basketball, Seth Berger. They are in discussions with both linear and streaming-based broadcasters regarding the event. And supposedly they're in discussions with, among others, Alabama, Duke, Florida Atlantic, Houston, Kansas, Oregon, San Diego State, St. John's, Syracuse, and Virginia. Each team will also receive free lodging, travel, and meals during the event. So,
I love this, and for a couple reasons. Number one, is this not a little gambling-ish in the sense, hey, you keep winning, you get a little more money. And so in that sense, I always like when we could throw in a little monetary stakes to things. But yeah, it's going to be in Vegas. Of course it's going to be in Vegas.
Of course it's going to be in Vegas. Where else would it be?
Yeah, I mean, other than an obscure ballroom at a casino in the Cayman Islands, which is where they sometimes have these tournaments. So I think you might as well have it in Vegas. And, this is going to be an interesting thing to tune into, because, I mean, sometimes, you wonder the early season tournaments, you go to Hawaii, you go to the Maui Invitational, you're like, okay, the trip to Hawaii is kind of the highlight piece, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes you worry about motivation, but if you're telling the kids, hey, you keep winning games, you're going to get more money. I mean, is that not the ultimate incentive at the end of the day for everybody? Especially young college kids? I mean.
Yeah, but here's the deal, is they're going to give the collective $1 million. The collective gets to divvy it up among the active players. That means not everybody necessarily has to get the same amount of dollars.
Oh yeah, I didn't say it was going to be fair by any stretch, but
so I think that's interesting. What I also think is interesting is I don't know that this I don't know that this can work long term. They might try it for a year, but they're going to lose some money. I mean, it's just going to happen. I mean, they're talking to teams like Alabama, Duke, Florida Atlantic, Houston.
I'll be interested to see who actually participates.
But let's take a look at last year's again. This is from Matt Brown. Let's take a look at last year's Maui Invitation. All right, Purdue, 1 seed. Kansas, 1 seed. UCLA, 2 seed. Marquette, 2 seed. Gonzaga, 3 seed. Tennessee, 4 seed. And Syracuse, a team people actually do care about. They averaged 677,000 viewers. The championship game got 1.59 million. Minnesota Bowling Green's bowl game got more. Is this going to make any money?
November basketball is not necessarily the needle mover that if you're going to spend $9 million on or $17 million on in 2025, you may need it to be. Plus free meals, travel, and lodging.
Right. I mean, I guess you get enough sponsors, but can you keep those sponsors if you're only getting 1.59 million views?
Right.
Well,
Can you get those sponsors?
Exactly. And if you're a sponsor, why not just go out and do your own NIL deal? Cut out the middleman in that regard.
Well, it may cost you a little less.
Well, yeah, and I'm a noted Duke hater, but I mean, you tell me Cooper Flagg, the #1 player in the country that's going to Duke next year, could possibly be in this tournament. If I'm a sponsor or thinking about sponsor, I'm saying, yeah, why don't I just go to Cooper Flagg and just try and get his endorsement myself and not even have to worry about being locked into a tournament that may, as you guys are saying, may not last more than a year or two.
I don't know that the math works. I think it's a great idea. I think the idea is fantastic. I don't think that it's practical.
Well,
because Mo, you like to say the devil
is in the details.
Well, hey, and on the flip side, if this thing takes off, what is your selection criteria going forward? If you're one of these other teams, now all of a sudden now you're knocking on the door trying to get into this thing, and you may get the door slammed in your face.
Okay. Here's the thing. What if it takes off and it's no longer an in-season tournament, but a post-season tournament?
That's a lot of what if, though.
Okay. But if it works.
Are you calling it the extra special 8 and you just invite the 8 best
I'm saying,
bubble teams?
Well, the next year is going to be 16. They're talking 25 is going to be 16 teams. Who's to say that in 26 it's not 32 or more? If it works.
If it works.
And then the NCAA tournament.
What NCAA tournament?
Exactly. Because you remember a time where the NIT was more valuable than the NCAA tournament was.
Before the NCAA took it over.
Right. But I mean, I'm talking like in the, there was a time in the 50s and 60s-ish.
Oh, yeah. It was the tournament.
It was the tournament. You didn't want to be in the NCAA tournament. That meant you didn't get a bid to the NIT.
Yeah, I'm visualizing that now. Hey, Coach, we're cool not going to the NCAA tournament. We really want to go play this in this other tournament where we can actually, I don't know, make more
some
money. Make some money. Yeah.
And then it really becomes valuable because at that point it is the NCAA tournament. It's the national championship, and you're more likely, you're not getting paid $1 million. You're getting revenue share from this thing, and we know that this is worth a lot of money to these TV contracts.
This could really become a dumpster fire for the NCAA if you're not careful.
Absolutely. This could be the end of the NCAA basketball tournament. I mean, long term. Problem is, it's got to work in the short term, and I just don't know if it works in the short term.
Yeah, you're thinking Super League already with football, and then you potentially have a situation like this with basketball at that point.
Shut her down.
Like Mo said.
Last one out, turn out the lights.
Yeah, close the door. Grand opening, grand closing situation here.
Indianapolis just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. You can kind of envision the Simpsons grandpa meme, right?
Yep. Just right in and right back out.
Here's something that we need to talk about real quick, and it's not anywhere on the run of show, but apparently Southern Indiana's women won the Ohio Valley Conference tournament.
And they're not
but
going.
They are not eligible for the AQ for the NCAA because they are transitioning from D2 to D1.
Yep.
So UT Martin, the OVC tournament runner-up, will represent the Ohio Valley Conference in the NCAAs, getting the AQ as the runner-up. How did that happen?
By the way, the 16-16 UT Martin NCAA tournament bound Skyhawks.
The absolute worst rule in all of college sports is the transition rule.
Well, it probably is, but it's a rule. Everybody knows it. How was USI in the tournament?
I mean, same thing happened with Jacksonville State and Bellarmine a couple of years ago. It just, I mean, that's the thing. I don't know if you have a tournament. I'm sorry, but I mean, I guess you could. You're saying, well, we're just going to take that chance, and if you win the conference tournament, at least you get the trophy. Sorry, you can't go to the NCAA tournament. Here's how we're going to select who does go to the NCAA tournament, and that's.
And I mean, we hate to be.
But it's the worst rule in college sports.
Yeah, and we hate to be negative, but I mean, is it for the conferences? Is it not about the money? Because if you're a conference that has just added 2 or 3 teams, I certainly would prefer to have a tournament if I could, infrastructurally support it, to have a tournament with 8 full teams or 12 or whatever the number is, if I can include everybody, as opposed to having to just cut 3 of them out.
Yeah, I guess. I just
it's a tough situation.
It's not a great look, though, I don't think, when your AQ isn't your conference tournament champion.
Well, and I'm not sure if did UT Martin win the regular season, or did they just happen to win to be second in the conference?
They went 16-16 in overall, and they're 11-7 in the league.
That doesn't sound like they won the regular season.
I haven't
pulled up the standings just yet, but I'm hunching that probably not.
No, well, Jacksonville State, when they were given the bid over Bellarmine, it was because they had won the regular season title. So, anyway. Putting them even in the tournament is kind of silly, but I guess, I mean, I don't.
Well, I mean, but,
at least they have something to play for.
Yeah. I mean, Wade's point does make sense. I mean, why exclude? I don't know how many other teams they had transitioning this year, but.
And like you said, this at least gives them something to play for. They know they can't go to the NCAA tournament. This is their Super Bowl.
Yep. And I totally get that. Hey, yeah, this is your chance to blow it out of the water, and they're gonna fly that comfort. They're gonna put that banner straight in the rafters, baby.
That's right.
They won't have anything NCAA related, but they'll certainly have the OVC championship banner.
Gotta love the
Southern
Eagles,
Illinois was 24-6, 17-1 in the regular season, so they swept the regular season and the tournament championships of the OVC.
Was it Southern Illinois or Southern Indiana?
I'm sorry, Southern Indiana. Yes. What did I say? Illinois? My bad.
Did.
Yes, Southern Indiana, 24-6 overall, 17-1. 3-way tie for second between UT Martin, Little Rock, and Eastern Illinois at 11-7 each.
So that's how Martin got there, because they were the last team standing that was eligible.
Yeah. So
that's wild.
That is wild.
It's not even Wednesday.
And
yeah, it's a little wacky as well as wild, but yeah, for sure.
UT Martin played them close, though. I'm looking at their schedule in the regular season. Only lost by 6 when they played at Martin back on February 15th, for what that's worth. They got pounded, actually, in the game, in the championship game, but they're going to get to go to the tournament.
There you go.
Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by Ben McKEE of VOLS 24/7, talking little UT hoops, men's, women's, and whatever else we get into with Ben. So stay tuned here from the Lee Company Studios when we come back. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome to Protein Snack Shop, your destination for healthy and delicious low-carb snacks. Our specialty lies in providing protein-packed desserts that are perfect for those following a keto diet. Our products are made with high-quality ingredients, ensuring that you can satisfy your cravings without compromising your health goals. From a variety of flavors and options to choose from, you can enjoy guilt-free snacking while staying on track with your fitness journey. Don't miss out on our limited time offer. Discover Protein Snack Shop today.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the Lee Company Studios from across southern Middle Tennessee as we continue with the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Maurice Patton, Wade Neely, Chris Yao. Joining us now from GoVols247.com is Ben McKEE from an eventful weekend in, most of it in Knoxville, some elsewhere, but yeah. Ben, thanks for taking some time with us this afternoon.
Absolutely. Hope y'all are doing well.
We're doing okay. We're doing a little bit better than the Lady Vols right now, I think. But first, which was the tougher loss, that loss or the men's loss to Kentucky, where they shot 28 of 74 from the floor?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that it's the women's loss, just because of everything on the line. I guess you could say that the ladies maybe played better against South Carolina than the men played against Kentucky. But just because of the way that the Lady Vols lost and everything that was on the line in that particular game makes it the worst one for me, given that Tennessee the men's team had already secured the regular season championship. And you don't want to lose to Kentucky. You don't want to lose on senior day, but it had no bearing on SEC tournament seeding. Tennessee's going to be the number one team in Nashville this coming Friday, and They're still in contention for that number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. I guess that's where it hurt the men's team the most. But even with that, Arizona turns around later in the night and loses to USC to lessen the blow of Tennessee losing to Kentucky as it pertains to its chances of getting a number 1 seed. So you don't want to discount the poor play by the men on Saturday. And again, you don't want to lose to Kentucky, but just with everything on the line with Kelly Harper and some questioning about her job, and you would have been playing for an SEC championship the next day. And that South Carolina team, I mean, it's hard to not envision them winning the national championship, and you should have beat them, quite frankly, and they're undefeated. It kind of speaks for itself. So I'll go with the ladies there, unfortunately.
Solid reasoning all the way around.
Yeah. I would agree with all of that, absolutely. What I would not agree with, by the way, is that cap you got on, but that's another story.
Hey, listen, let him mourn. Garrett Cole's undergoing surgery. Probably.
Is he? I saw where he's having an MRI, but yeah, is that?
Let him mourn.
Okay, I understand. Ben, what was your takeaway from Saturday as far as the men go? Again, like you said, in the grand scheme of things, it may not hurt anything. They're still the number 1 coming into Nashville. They got a great shot at being a number 1 when the brackets are announced next Sunday. But still, how long you going to stick around as a number 1 when you're shooting 28 of 74 from the floor?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Although I don't appreciate y'all reminding me of the Garrett Cole news. I've been trying to get that out of my head. I've been thinking about it all day. I'm not a bandwagon Yankees fan. I live and die with the results more than I should. But, yeah, I mean, Tennessee's got to get going. It can't have the shooting night that it had on Saturday against Kentucky. There's no bones about that. My biggest takeaway, honestly, coming out of that game on Saturday is should senior day be handled differently? Because I don't come out of that loss with any red flags about this basketball team. I'm not worried about them projecting to the NCAA tournament or anything like that. I think, yes, they played poorly, and they did not defend the way that they have at times this season. They had a poor shooting night. But to me, that was the result of the emotions of senior day, not because now there's things to be worried about all of a sudden. It was very emotional prior to the game. Josiah Jordan-James was shedding tears, and Santiago Vescovi looked like he was fighting back tears. Dalton Connect says after the game that he was a wreck all day long. Now, Dalton went and dropped 40, regardless of those emotions. But Dalton even talked about that.
Well, yeah, what if he hadn't been emotional, right?
All right, he might have gone for 80. Truly been on his Kobe stuff there. But credit to Dalton for being able to overcome those emotions. But it's tough. I mean, I think any of us who have simply gone through a senior day in high school knows how tough it can be. And to me, that was the root of them getting off to a slow start and playing poorly on Saturday. And, you know, the on-ball defense led to kickouts for Kentucky. But Reed Shepherd and Antonio Reeves and Justin Edwards, I mean, they were on fire, whether you had a hand in their face or whether they were wide open. So, obviously, Tennessee could have corrected some things. But I thought the emotions of senior day got the best of them. And I don't necessarily fault them for that because it is a tough situation to go through. And I don't know, as you're remembering your Tennessee career, and then 5 minutes later, you're tipping off against a rival. That's hard to do and overcome. I think should they change the way that they do senior day going forward?
Ben, you've obviously covered the team all year, and you've kind of spoke to it a little bit, but I guess the psyche of the team is this a loss that – how long is that going to sit with them, or is this a team in your mind that, hey, they're already maybe flipping the page and they're going ahead and getting ready to look forward to whether it's Mississippi State or LSU on Friday? I guess how quickly you expecting a good bounce back from them?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've already moved on, quite frankly. That's been one of the most impressive parts about this team this year is their ability to respond to losses. Outside of the Maui Invitational, when you lost to Kansas and Purdue back-to-back, I don't believe that this team has lost 2 games in a row outside of that stretch. So I guess maybe North Carolina followed those losses as well. So maybe had 3 in a row there. But again, at North Carolina after playing Purdue and Kansas speaks for itself. But other than that, I mean, the loss to Mississippi State, they bounced back. Any loss, they've really bounced back well, and they played well even in those 3 early that they lost. They still fought tooth and nail with Purdue. They fought tooth and nail with North Carolina. Still had a chance to win those games. I think they've already turned the page and are already looking ahead. It's an older team that understands what it's playing for this time of year, and they know not to dwell on it too much. And kind of going back to talking about having the SEC already wrapped up, I think even going back to last Wednesday that they were starting to look ahead and prepare for mostly the NCAA tournament, because the SEC tournament, you want to go win that, but we all know what the season is going to come down to, and just how much their legacies are cemented. It's going to be about what they do in the NCAA tournament, whether that's fair or unfair, and I think they understand that, and I think they've already moved on.
Ben, you've got Tennessee as the 1. We mentioned Kentucky 2, Alabama 3, and Auburn 4. Those obviously would be your likely contenders, but as somebody that's covered the team all year, is there another team, or who is a team in your mind that if it's not Tennessee cutting down the nets in Bridgestone Arena on Sunday, who's a team in your mind that maybe could make a run at this thing this week?
Yeah, of the top 4 seeds, I'd say Kentucky. It feels like they're playing their best basketball of the season right now. I still don't really trust them. I need to see them win 3 games in 3 days. They've been very inconsistent all season, and I think that defense is still very, very bad. And I don't know that championships with that poor defense. Statistically, over time, it tells us that you can't. But it's hard to deny how they looked in this building on Saturday against the SEC champs. And Zakai Ziegler hit that 3 to cut it to 5 points, I think it was. And that was the loudest I'd ever heard Thompson-Boling Arena. And for them to what they did, it's hard to deny that. But outside of the top 4 seeds, I'm a big fan of what South Carolina is doing right now, and Lamont. I think Florida is a terrible matchup for Alabama. I actually think that if Florida makes it, I think Florida will beat Alabama, because Alabama doesn't have anybody that can contain Florida in the post. It's why they got run out in Gainesville, and it's why Florida should have beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I know Nate Oates lives on a different planet, apparently, and talks about their 4th or 5th best player missing a couple games, and that being the reason they don't have an SEC championship. But there's a lot more issues than just your 4th or 5th best player missing a couple of games there. So I really like that Florida and South Carolina team. I know I'm kind of going chalk there, 5 and 6, but I think it also speaks to how deep the SEC is this season. I mean, you even go back to 7, 8, and 9. What's it? Texas A&M, LSU, and Mississippi State. I mean, those are teams with winning records in the league, if I'm not mistaken, and teams who have flirted with the NCAA tournament. So I think there's going to be quite a bit of chaos this weekend, and if not Tennessee, then I think it could be Kentucky, depending on the matchup. But it's hard, man, because, again, it's as deep as it's ever been. And I didn't even talk about Bruce Pearl and Auburn. And
that's where I was going.
They're going to show up ready to play. You know that they will. Alabama, at the end of the day, they are the 4th seed for a reason, or whatever seed they're at. They're very good, even if they do have their limitations. So I think it's going to be a crazy weekend in Bridgestone, and there's really no telling what's going to happen because of the craziness.
Ben, I asked a question in our tweet before this segment, kind of getting into baseball a little bit, because Tony Vitello said something over the weekend that we're not the best team in the country, and we all the things they trying to downplay the accomplishments that his team has made to this point. But is this potentially the best team of the Tony V era?
No. That 2022 team was the best team of the Tony Vitello era. It's a team that should have won the national championship if you just base it on who the best team in the country was that year. And there's no doubt, even though Tennessee came up short and didn't even make it to Omaha, that 22 team was the best team in the country. And it wasn't really close. Notre Dame just caught them on that weekend. I think if you play a best 4 out of 7 series like we do in pro baseball for a good chunk of the playoffs, then I think Tennessee probably wins. But that weekend, Tennessee let the emotions get the best of them, and that was a very good Notre Dame team, and they took advantage of Tennessee's mistakes that it had not shown up until that point in the season. So I think that's the best team in the Tony Vitello era. But to answer your question more directly, this team has the chance to go do what that team did and what last year's team did. And it's a team capable of winning the national championship. It's a team capable of going to Omaha, winning the SEC, doing all the things that they are setting out to do. As long as Tony Vitello is the head coach at Tennessee and he's recruiting at the level that he is recruiting, they'll have a chance to win championships every single season because they are recruiting at a ridiculously high level. And they still have the number 2 class coming up, and the number 1 class after that. Baseball recruiting is so far out in advance. Kids are committing when they're freshman and sophomore in high school, if not earlier. So these rankings get released pretty early, and take rankings with a grain of salt, obviously, but they're beating out the LSUs and the Arkansas and the Texases, all the blue bloods of baseball for high level recruits. And as long as he continues to do that, Tennessee's going to have the ability to go win a championship at the conference level and the national level every single season. And this year is no different. You have some things that you need to sort out on the pitching side of things. And in Frank Anderson, they trust. Obviously, he's arguably the best pitching coach in the country. But that lineup, it's ridiculous. And although the pitching staff is trying to figure some things out, the lineup is making up for them trying to figure things out. And it's as deep of a lineup as you're going to find in the country in the SEC, and just pro ball player after pro ball player littered up and down that lineup. So it's got a chance to go win the national championship, but it's as simple as that. But I still don't know that it's as good as that 2022 team. Maybe they prove me wrong and end up accomplishing more, but it's hard to bet against that 22 team.
Ben McKEE of VOLS 24/7 GoVols247.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Ben, we are particularly fond of the right fielder / center fielder for the Vols. Kavares Tears played his high school ball at Columbia Academy. We were fortunate enough to get to see him for about 3 years. And while he has kind of burst onto the scene for a lot of people, what he's doing right now isn't a surprise for anybody who saw this team on a regular basis last year.
No, not at all. And unfortunately for Kavares, he just battled injuries last year, and he had gotten off to a nice start. And I believe he dealt with a quad injury first and then an oblique injury second. And anybody who follows baseball knows that those are not injuries that a hitter wants to deal with, or even a pitcher for that matter. I mean, those are tough injuries in general, but with the way that you're swinging the bat and the torque that Kavares creates and power that he generates, I mean, those are not easy injuries to deal with. And he got off with a quad injury and had a nice couple of games there. Hit the home run against Vanderbilt that helped him beat Vanderbilt that particular day and then sweep that weekend. So he's always showed the potential. And now, knock on wood, he's been able to stay healthy to this point in the season. And he's had back-to-back just phenomenal off seasons. You talk to anybody in that program behind the scenes, and they rave about Kavares Tears and the hard work that he puts in and the person that he is. And going back to the fall, one of the first things that I noticed when I'd make my way over there and watch them scrimmage in the fall is just how much more vocal he is this season. And then Tony started to talk about that publicly, and you started to hear others talk about that. He is developed into a terrific leader on that baseball team and really garners the respect of everybody in that program. So he's always had the tools, had to lose some weight. I asked him the last time he spoke to the media how much weight he lost from last season. He lost a lot from his redshirt season, but then he came back he slimmed down. Still got the muscle on him, but I don't know that there's an ounce of baby fat on that kid right now. And I think he told me he lost 40 pounds this past offseason. And he's in great shape, which has helped him at the plate and in the field. And I think that's also helped him stay healthy this year as well. So Kavares Tears is in a great spot. And he's got some nice cushion hitting next to him and Billy Amick. And Tennessee's going to rely on him in that 4-hole throughout the season. He's going to have a big say in just how far Tennessee goes this season.
Ben McKEE. You can follow him at Ben McKEE 14 on that social media platform that we're still not sure what to call it. You know what it is. Anyway, Ben, we appreciate your time and enjoy Bridgestone.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all having me on as always, and hope y'all have a great week.
Sounds good. Thanks. When we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, it's the grab bag. And there are some interesting things in here that we're going to kind of skim across real quick. So stay with us when we come back to the Lee Company studios after this. I'm Maurice Patton, and on Main Street Sports Today, we bring you the voices of your favorite teams from preps to pros. Otherwise known as the VOT, Mike Keith.
The bottom line is we can teach Will Levis woke.
I just don't know who's going to work with you on your base stealing now that Eli's gone.
Well, that has nowhere to go but up. And I was just like, oh, guys, not again. Can we just bury that, burn that footage, and not bring it back?
No.
No. Thank you. We'll keep it going past the All-Star break, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out. There's always a good story to tell.
Can you guess where I am today, Mo? Where am I?
It's not Reese Smith Field, is it?
Yeah.
Because anytime you play Chicago, you want to win. That's just
you got that right, and
that's bottom line.
be a buzz.
When you're walking the dog, you keep the bags that you need for the dog in the bag, and you don't even have to wear it. You can just hold it, which is what I do when I walk the dog. So
I think the fanny pack probably needed a little rebranding.
It did. It really did.
On your show logo, we've got to get a puck in there. There's a basketball. There's a football. There's a baseball. Maybe it's not a puck. How about Mo brandishes a hockey stick?
Tune in daily at 2 p.m. on Main Street Media TV.
Welcome back for the final segment of the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton with Chris Yao and Wade Neely, and I'm not sure which one I'll point to, so I'm not going to point. But it's the grab bag, and one of the first topics we're going to touch on is one of the last topics that we threw in here, as the National Foundation of High Schools announced its 2024 Hall of Fame class earlier today, and among them is former Minnesota high school standout Joe Mauer, who is also going into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame this year. Former Auburn standout Takeo Spikes. This one's near and dear to Wade Neely's heart. Tyrone Wheatley, who played at Michigan. And Joe Burrow's grandmother.
Right?
Yeah, Dot Ford Burrow, who was a girls basketball standout in Mississippi more than 70 years ago, but also
scored 80-something points a game, or in one game, not average, but like 82 points in a game.
She averaged almost 50 points a game.
That's absurd.
It really is. But I'll tell you, Chris, as you are so fond of reminding me, I'm old. I remember 6-on-6, and I think scoring was a little easier in the half-court game when there were only 3 people on offense. And so not to, disrespect Miss Ford Burrow's performances. I mean, but yeah, she had individual games of 82 and 72 points in the 1949-1950 season at Smithville, Mississippi. So,
put it in the bucket ain't easy against air that many times.
No, you're right. You're right. In addition to those 4 high caliber athletes being recognized, a little closer to home, Gary Rankin, who is 14 wins short of 500 for his career, will be recognized as a NFHS Hall of Famer. Went 13-1 this past year at Boyd Buchanan, had them in the Division II AA state finals. Smith County, Riverdale, Alcoa, and Boyd Buchanan, and he has a career record of 486 and 85 over 42 seasons.
Or Riverside if you're NFHS, which
is that what they got?
Yeah, they got Riverside.
They've got Riverside. Oh,
yeah,
wrong school. That's unfortunate. Yeah.
They'll get it right.
Unfortunately, there is a Riverside, so I mean, it's
you got to be careful.
You do got to be careful, but yeah, congrats to Coach Rankin, who will be inducted into the NFHS Hall of Fame this summer during their annual convention in Boston, July 1st. I guess he'll have to see if the Red Sox are in town while he's up that way. But, yeah. We were talking college baseball at the conclusion of the last segment. This week's D1 baseball poll includes 4 Southeastern Conference teams in the top 5. That's
and 6 in the top 10, I believe.
Yes.
Not 7. 7. Is it 7?
6.
6. Still, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's still a lot. Arkansas number 1, LSU number 2, Oregon State, Texas A&M, and the aforementioned Vols are your top 5. Duke, Wake, Florida, Vanderbilt, and Clemson 6 through 10.
That's absurd.
It really is, but I mean, I don't know that
you thought basketball was deep.
I don't think it's necessarily telling us anything we didn't already know.
No, absolutely not. Anybody who's watched college baseball over the last 5 years knows that the SEC and Oregon State are kind of the they're the gold standards.
Yeah, it just means more, and which brings even more. Once again, where is Oregon State going to be next year for baseball?
I think they're independent.
Good luck putting a schedule together.
You thought it was hard getting people to play you before.
Right, exactly. Chris, I'm going to let you introduce this next one because it's kind of suitable for Wednesday, but
it may be, again, it's wild, it's wacky, and it's not even Wednesday, but let's go ahead and watch this press conference from Utah State, former Utah State women's basketball coach, Kayla Ard, who had this to say during her press conference. Oh, we can't hear it, can we?
If we can't, that's not good.
Oh no, I don't know that we can.
Oh,
you guys can't hear that, huh?
Mm-mm.
Well, that's unfortunate. Well,
that's very unfortunate because you really need to be able to hear this to get the full effect of it. But Chris, go ahead.
Either way, Kayla Ard, following her team's loss on, I guess it was
it Friday in the Mountain West?
I think it was
Friday or Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, they lost to Boise State and was asked about how she was going to rebuild for next year. She replied, "Well, I'm not going to be rebuilding anything because I just talked to the AD and they're going in a different direction." And then she said, I hope they find a great coach, wish him nothing but the best. And I assume that's the last question. And then walked off the stage. That's tough, man. I mean,
it was actually last night.
Okay. Well, I mean, they didn't. Okay. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in a press conference. I've never seen a coach announce they're on fire. I don't think
hey, why would you not? Why sit up there and act otherwise?
Right.
I think the key to this is, why would you tell a coach between the end of their game and their post-game press conference that they had been fired?
Correct. That's the weird part. It maybe the weirdest thing I've ever seen in the middle in all of women's basketball.
Now here's the deal. I'm looking at an article on ESPN. They were 5-25, 2-16 in the Mountain West this past season. They've won 9 total games over the past 2 years.
I'm not saying she didn't deserve it.
Exactly. That's the thing. I don't know that it's
way to do it.
Yeah,
could have been handled a little bit differently.
Oh, it could have been handled a lot differently. Yeah. So 24-90 in 4 seasons, 10-62 in Mountain West play. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a shock that Kayla Ard is no longer the women's basketball coach at Utah State, but certainly the timing is a little odd. What would an NCAA basketball season be without a little Duke, North Carolina controversy, right?
Drama.
Yes.
It's a good question.
Go ahead, yeah. It's your grab bag.
Well, I don't really know what more to say other than Kyle Filipowski may or may not have pulled a Grayson Allen. And Wade, you said it. I mean, it's typical Duke fashion, isn't it?
As I was discussing this with somebody else, I said Grayson Allen 2.0? Question mark? I mean,
yeah, absolutely is what he did.
Filipowski be tripping.
I mean, you can't watch that literally. I mean, you can't watch that video and not come to that conclusion, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, you guys, everybody's kind of throwing him under the bus a little bit. We probably should be celebrating him after his miraculous recovery from, basically a near-death experience and career-ending injury just a few weeks ago. So he's made a valiant return. And
yes,
classic.
After he was trampled to death in that court storming incident with Wake Forest, he was able to return, obviously.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, but is this not the same Duke team? Then we also saw at the end of the game Saturday, their fans are throwing water bottles and drinks on the court. There was a great tweet. I won't be able to find it, but someone said, obviously this is not a good look, but I'm just sorry for that poor reporter's laptop because they're showing all of the debris going on the court, and a guy zooms down on his laptop, and it is just drenched in water or Gatorade or insert beverage here. So
some liquid substance, yeah.
Classic Duke. We'll find a block another 2-hour show one day this week, and I can fill that entirely with Duke haterisms. So this just adds to the fire.
Meanwhile, in Houston,
we don't need to hear this.
Is that who I think it is?
It is indeed.
That's the Rocket, Roger Clemens. Just watch.
That's a lot of yellow. Oof.
Bat flipping.
Oh.
After hitting a dinger off of the 61-year-old Rocket.
Well, if he's on the mound, then there you go, 61 or whatever. But yeah, I
just hit a home run off Roger Clemens, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it. So good for that guy. The Savannah Bananas coming soon to a ballpark near you.
There you go.
Roy Oswald also threw a little bit in that, and kind of like, the infamous clip of Brad Lidge giving up the dinger to Pujols. A lot of people forget that did not end the series. Roy Oswalt went on the road the next ball game and won Game 7 in St. Louis. So kind of like Roger Clemens, the dinger lives on social media forever, but Roy Oswalt comes out of that largely unscathed, kind of like he did for much of his Astros career.
Astros fan Wade Neely clearing up some things here as we get ready to shut it down here on the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Tomorrow we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, as we are every Tuesday. Wade, I guess it's me and you tomorrow, since Chris has already told us he won't be here tomorrow. So we will be soldiering forth. Be sure and join us later this week from the Glass House. Maurice Patton, Chris Yao, Wade Neely, Main Street Sports Today. We'll see y'all tomorrow.